The senses may bring knowledge, all right. The mind may decipher them. The ego may identify itself with them. Yet nothing can happen until the organ of action, especially hands, feet, and speech, act. The organs of actions are considered now. These organs are also situated in the subtle body, yet they are called Bahya Karnas, or external instrument. They have their outlets in the body. Tattva discusses this creation now. So now we are talking about 5 organ of action. We spoke about 5 sense organs and Antakarna. What are the Antakarna? Mind, intellect, memory, and ego. So the Antakarna and sense organs are born out of Sattva Guna of 5 subtle elements. Now, organ of actions are born out of Rajas quality of 5 subtle elements. And similarly, 5 pranas are born out of Rajas of 5 subtle elements. So right now we are reading only organ of actions. From these 5 basic elements of the Rajas of space, the organ of speech is born. From the dynamic quality of Rajas of air, the organ of clasping or hand is born. From the dynamic quality of fire, organ of movement is born. Of the dynamic quality of water, the organ of enjoyment is born. Of the dynamic quality of earth, the organ of evacuation is born. So like last time we said, how these are related, how these actual organs are born out of these elements is a different subject altogether, and it's a vast subject to discuss. Right now, Tattva Bodha does not go into details of it. It only describes which organ is result of which subtle element, and we go by it. The quality of Rajas is dynamism, while Sattva is equilibrium. Rajas is dynamism. The third, Tamas, is inertia. Right? These are the 3 qualities of Maya, of the manifestation. And because these are the original quality of Maya, everything that has in manifestation are made of these 3 gunas, or 3 qualities. All these 3 are essential in order to balance the organism or creation. If there was no sattva, none could control the actions of the individual or the cosmos, because everything would have been chaotic. It says that all these 3 gunas are important. Even Rajas and Tamas are important because it has its own role. So that is what it explains here, that if it was only sattva, then, and without Rajas, there will be no movement, there will be no action, there will be no progress. So in order to have that, we need Rajas. And that's all the 3 are essential in order to balance the organism or the creation. If there was no sattva, none could control the action of individual or the cosmos, because everything would have been chaotic. Sattva is necessary. If there was no tamas or inertia, there would be chaos again. And if there was no rajas, there would be only static equilibrium. You got it? So all 3 qualities are required. All of us have these 3 qualities. Everything in manifestation has this quality. What is important is to realize the percentage of this quality. If we talk about the living beings, the humans specifically, If our sattva guna is dominant, then we have the quality of sattva in our lifestyle. But if we lead a life based more on rajas and tamas, then our life pattern will have more of a materialistic activity or the movement and actions without sattva or less sattva. So this is important, that we maintain the three quality in a right percentage. The organs of action, as their name signifies, are action prone. Hence, rajas of the five tanmatras have been used to make them. The tanmatras are the subtle five elements. And the rajas is the quality which required to make action, organ of actions. The author of Tattvabodha follows the traditional account to say that the organs of evacuation and generation, respectively, are created by the rajas portion of the earth and water. The hands are formed by rajas of air. Legs are formed by rajas of fire. Finally, speech is followed by the rajas of space. Such a creation takes place because each organ of action has one predominant quality and thus an element in it. So this is a very brief explanation that organs of action are result of rajas quality of five tanmatras, five subtle elements. Which organ is born out of what is what it shows, what it tells us. So as we read again, the rajas of space gives us the speech. The air gives us hand. Fire gives us legs. Water gives us the organ of generation. And the earth gives us the organ of evacuation. So these are the action organs. Now, page 253 gives the diagram. The table tells us the summary of it. Ishvara is Brahman plus avidya. Ishvara is the pure consciousness of Brahman associated with ignorance or Maya. It is not influenced by Maya, but it is associated with Maya or ignorance. Five subtle elements, tanmatras, projects of consciousness enveloped by avidya. So we spoke about it, the quality of Maya, one, the function of Maya is to envelop the reality of Brahman and project what is not absolute truth. That is the relative truth of this manifestation, or call it avidya or ignorance. Then five gross elements, Panch Mahabhuta, gives us the result of permutation, and it is the result of permutation and combination of tanmatras, which is known as a Panchikarna. So the phrase Panchikarna is the process of permutation and combination of five subtle elements. And that brings about Panch Mahabhuta, as we know. As we know, the air, space, fire, earth, water, in gross form, is result of the process called Panchikarna. In the following chapter, it will explain all in detail. So this was the cosmic creation. Now the individual creation, the five senses, the sense organs, from the individual sattva of the five tanmatras, as we read it already. The antakarna, manas, buddhi, aham and chitta, that is mind, intellect, memory and ego. These two are result of the sattva quality of 5 tanmatras or 5 subtle elements. 5 pranas and 5 organ of actions are born of the rajas quality of 5 tanmatras. The gross cosmos is Prithvi. It's referred in the literature as Prithvi, as earth, is the gross. And gross individual is created from the food. Now, this is significant. Why does it say food? It believes that the body is born and it is nourished by the intake that we take. Now, intake, the food is not just the food itself, but the liquid or even the prana, even the breathing is also put here together as food. So the gross form of body develops based on the food or the or drink or the prana that we intake, whether water or any form of liquid. So whatever is our intake is how the body is shaped. So there is a saying that what you eat is what you express, how it shows out based on our quality. So if you are eating food which is more tamasic, then your body as well as your mind and emotions are governed by tamasic nature. But if your intake of food and your intake of all kind, food, liquid, and your breathing is of rajas or sattva, your personality is accordingly. So this is about the action, organ of action. Now we talk, continuing the chapter 37, page 254, 5 life forces or pranas. Remember, 5 pranas are also result of rajas quality of tanmatra, which is 5 subtle elements. Prana and the gods. Once upon a time, there was a fight between the gods and the demons. The fight was long and fierce one. The gods, unable to overcome the demons quickly, thought of a way to vanquish them. They held on to their great treasure and blessed Omkar. So this is just to identify, to glorify the importance of prana. There is a story, there is a narration of this so-called a long drawn fight between gods and demons. And this how the significance of pranas. They held on to their great treasure, the blessed Omkara or Pranava. So Pranava is also known as Omkara. In very traditional school of yoga, the prana is usually addressed as Omkara. There is a Omkara Kriya. Omkara Kriya is nothing but the discipline of breathing or controlling your breath or regulating your breath. It's known as Omkara, which is the greatest representation of Brahman. So it believes that the prana is the greatest representation of that Nirguna Brahman, the ultimate Brahman or consciousness or energy. We all know that when we say of Brahman, it is also known as the supreme energy. Energy which has no shape, no form, no color, no identification, is just the energy. And prana is the perfect representation of that supreme energy. The sound Brahman, the path of immortality and the source of bliss. You see the significance of the Brahman or the prana is linked to the sound. So that is how it is known as the Nada Brahma. Nada Brahma is the sound the original sound, the first sound of the manifestation. First sound of the manifestation is known as the Nada Brahma, which is generated based on this Omkara or Prana. And the source of bliss. This Omkara is also called Udgita. Udgita is which when we speak of different breathing exercise of pranayama that we do, Udgita is the holding of breath in a particular sense, which we do Ujjayi pranayam. Ujjayi pranayam is result of Udvita. So you have that breathing in your control in a certain manner. So Omkara, Pranava or Udgita means the same. The gods thought that by contemplating on Omkara, they could destroy the demons. So they began contemplating on Omkara as the source of strength. Prana is the life force. So they thought they could become a powerful. Prana comes and goes out of the nose, while the gods thought they were meditating thus. The demons injected evil into the nose. The gods changed the locus and meditated on the prana in the eye. That two demons pierced with evil. Twice did the gods failed. Try to understand. This is only a narration to improve the importance of the life force or pranas. Then the gods went to the secret chamber of the heart and meditated on prana in the mind. Even that the demons pierced with evil. That is, the nose, eye, mind see evil and good owing to piercing. Since these three became impure because of evil, the gods meditated on prana as the presiding deity. That is when they resorted to prana itself for power instead of depending on the other senses. The demons failed. When the demons came to pierce the prana, they have pulverized. So it says that the different method of meditation which was adopted by God to gain the strength over the demons, but demons could win over them by putting evil into the organs. So they were meditating on the breathing through the nose. So they on the nostrils they were meditating, and the demons could inject the evil thought or evil into nostril, and they succeeded. Then they moved the meditating on your mind, and so demons could also penetrate the mind by putting evil, and they could not continue meditating. Finally, the gods decided to meditate upon the prana itself. The feeling of inhalation and exhalation is called meditating upon the prana. The ultimate best, it is as discussed here, best representation of Brahman, of the supreme energy, is the prana. So the god started meditating upon the prana itself, which demon could not win over, could not destroy, could not put any evil power into it. So to prove that the prana is such significant life force. This is an allegorical story from the Chandogya Upanishad. This is a meditation. The idea is life force or prana is pure. It is not tainted like the sense of the mind. Prana, the importance. In his eagerness to give the thirst to Advaita, Sri Shankara considers everything as the ultimately leading to Brahman alone. For instance, he does not appear to give the importance that is due for prana. Just as Brahman pervades everything at the spirit level, at the subtle level, everything pervades by prana. Advaita equates it with Brahman. But Swami Vivekananda gives it the vital place it demands in its Raja Yoga lecture. So, in Advaita Vedanta, the importance is more placed on Brahman, and it keep claiming that everything is Brahman, everything is that supreme energy. It does not necessarily speak about prana much, or the energy of prana, but subsequently the Swami Vivekananda and Sankara himself considers at individual level or at our material level, prana is considered to be equivalent to Brahman. And that's why the sentence says that just as Brahman pervades everything at the spirit level, at the subtle level, everything is pervaded by prana. Advaita equates it with Brahman. So according to Advaita, prana is equal to Brahman. And that is based on the theory of Nada Brahma, the sound. Swami Vivekananda says there is nothing occult in the air that we take in with our breath and assimilate to purify the blood. The action is merely a motion. This motion can be reduced to the unit movement we call prana. And everywhere, all movements are the various manifestation of this prana. This prana is electricity, it is magnetism, it is thrown out by the brain as thought. Everything is prana, it is moving. The sun, the moon, and the stars. So Swami Vivekananda gives much more importance about the prana, that the prana is not just what we inhale and exhale. Prana is also the result of movement, the cosmic movement, the movement of the sun, moon, stars. So that movement happens because of the prana. Now, prana in this case is not something which is just what we inhale. Prana is out of the space. It pervades everywhere. It's not just prana is not something that you can have it in your room, but not in your garden or not in your kitchen. Prana is available everywhere. And that prana, freely available, and that prana, that life force, is also significant for the cosmic level. The movement of the stars and planets are depending on the movement of prana. And that is how the Swami Vivekananda is explaining. This, I'm reading again, this motion can be reduced to the unit movement we call prana. And everywhere, this prana is electricity, it is magnetism, it is thrown out by the brain as a thought. So when we talk about thoughts or thinking, is also possible because of the prana. Simply because prana is nothing but the energy, the most significant energy. Without that energy, we are unable to think. And so the prana is important. And that is why breathing is considered to be the best method of meditation. The result, the easiest and most natural to be in this moment. So the significance of being in this moment, in the present moment, because it believes there is nothing past, there is nothing called future. Everything that happens in present moment. To meditate upon the present moment, the best method, one of the best method is to meditate on your prana, on your breathing. Yeah? And that prana, we take it for granted. Without our awareness, without our knowledge, we are doing our breathing and continue doing our whatever activity during the day. But if the breathing has changed, if try to be aware that with the change of prana, it affects your emotions, your mental state, your physical strength. Your breathing is different when you are in meditation. Your breathing is completely different when you are excited or conscious or eager or let's say you're waiting for something. Your breathing changes. You are excited. You are angry. Your breathing changes. You are happy. Your breathing changes. Try to notice that. If you, of course, we all know that if you do the exercise, breathing change. If you do the jogging or running, the breathing change. But even you are sitting, no physical exercise, and yet with your mental, different thoughts, emotions, changes your breathing. Watch it. If you are emotionally, for example, if something that you come across or read or see that gives you happiness, that gives you joy, your breathing will change. Something that will excite you, make you angry, the breathing will change. So the relation between your breath and your emotions, mind, thought, your physical movement is so closely related. Of the dynamic quality of all these together, the 5 life breaths are born. The body is made of particles which we call matter, and it is dull and insensate. So is what the Vedantians call the 5 bodies. The 5 body, we know the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, these different 5 bodies that we spoke earlier. The fine body, according to them, is material but transparent body made of very fine particles, so fine that no microscope can see them. And what is the use of that? So as we know, gross body is apparent. We all know, we all see it. The subtle body. Subtle bodies are 3. Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and Vijnanmaya Kosha, intellect. This is 3 together is called subtle body. The subtle body is also a matter, although it is such subtle matter that no microscope can detect it, but it is still a matter. And that is why it says that this subtle matter also is part of the subtle body. Yes, so the fine body. The fine body is here is the word used fine. It's a fine body is the subtle body. The subtle body, according to them, is a material but transparent body. In other words, it has no grossification. The subtle body is transparent. It is not a gross body. It's not. There is no physical form. So it is transparent body made of very fine particles, so fine that no microscope can see them. What is the use of that? The fine body is also material, only very fine matter. And just as this gross body is the instrument that works for the gross forces, so the fine body is the instrument that works for the fine forces. The subtle body works for the subtle purposes or subtle forces. From where do all these forces come? Where is the energy or force coming from? According to Vedanta philosophy, there are 2 things in nature. One of which they call Akasha, which we call space or Akasha, which is the substance, infinitely fine, and the other they call prana. The both are infinitely fine matter. They are matter, but very fine matter, very subtle matter. So you see here it is directly connected to, prana is connected with space, with Akasha. Yeah, and both are infinite. Infinite in this cosmic level and individual level. Infinitely fine, and the other they call prana, which is the force. Akasha is like the water, and everything else in the universe is like blocks of ice made of water. The floating in the water, and the prana is the power that changes the Akasha into these various forms. So we spoke about in Panchikarna, the next chapter, it will tell us how is this combination and permutation of 5 subtle elements brings about Panch Mahabhuta, gross 5 elements. But that process is powered, is forced by prana. Without prana, the process of Panchikarna would not happen. And that prana is same related to Akasha, or the space. Akasha is like the water, and everything else in the universe is like blocks of ice made out of water and floating in the water. And the prana is the power that changes this Akasha into these various forms. So according to this, everything emerged out of space, out of Akasha. So as an example, it says, imagine it's like a block of ice floating on the water. And that floating happens because of the power of prana, the force of prana. Similarly, from the space, from the Akash elements, everything that emerges, everything that manifests different elements, that process, Panchikarna, is based on prana. Prana is the significant force in order to undergo the Panchikarna process. The gross body is the instrument made out of Akasha for the manifestation of prana in gross form as the muscular motion or walking, sitting, talking, and so forth. The fine body is also made of Akasha, a very fine form of Akasha for the manifestation of the same prana in the finer form of thought. God is eternal. Nature is also eternal, but changefully eternal. The material of nature, prana and Akasha, is eternal, but it is changing into different forms eternally. Remember, when we speak of eternity, it is not eternity as the Nirguna Swarupa Brahman, because that's changeless, that's absolute. This is eternity within the cosmic manifestation, which means it is everywhere. It pervades everywhere. Akasha and prana is everywhere. And from that, from the Akasha, or from the space element, comes out different subtle elements. So air is the result of space. Fire, water, earth is also from, and this is subtle form we are talking, is out of the same element called space. Now, how does that subtle element become the gross? That permutation and combination, known as Panchikarna, is done through the movement of prana. And that is the next chapter, Panchikarna. So we will discuss that next time. Panchikarna is a very technical chapter, and it's a little longer than usual. It will tell us how the different organs are born out of particular element, and what are the percentage of each element in combination to bring about the gross element. To review what we have said so far is that the Maya, we started with the Maya, correct? The Maya has 2 qualities. One is to cover or envelop the reality, which is Brahman. Second is to project what is not absolute truth, what is an appearance. And that appearance in Vedanta is known as an ignorance, because it is not a reality. It is not permanent. It's not omnipresent. So that is Maya. Now, Maya has three qualities. One, Sattva. Second, Rajas. Third, Tamas. From these three qualities, we get 5 subtle elements. Yeah, subtle, very subtle, that we cannot experience, we cannot perceive it. In the subtle form, 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. And it says, from Sattva Guna of these 5 subtle elements brings about 5 organ of senses, Gyanendriyas, yeah? And 4 antakarnas, mind, intellect, memory, and ego. Combination of these 2, antakarna and sense organs, are result of Sattva Guna of the 5 elements. Then today we spoke about the 5 organ actions, sense of organs, 5 pranas. So 5 sense of action and 5 pranas, result of rajas quality of 5 subtle elements. You got it? Now, next chapter talks about Panchikarna, which is the combination of all these 5 elements, subtle form. Because of that percentage of combination and permutations, it brings about the gross form of the elements, Panchamahabhuta, as we see, as we know. Up to now is all discussion about the subtle form of elements, subtle form of our sense organs, organs of actions, antakarna and prana. These are the part of subtle body. With the Panchikarna, with the process of Panchikarna, we will discuss the gross form, which we have spoken earlier as well, gross form of this body. Panchamahabhuta is the evidence. What we eat is the result of our body. Yeah, our body is made of food that we intake at the gross level. So the Panchikarna we'll discuss next class. All these chapters that we are reading last 3 times or 3 days, 3 weeks, is more technical. It's not something which you can just read and understand. You need to read a couple of times and try to contemplate and possibly read the references. As I said, from the space comes air, and air is the source of your speech, for example. So how is the speech related to air and air related to space? How is the prana is related to the movement of Panchikarna? Now this, you cannot find it right here in this one book. There are other reference books that one should read to understand how that happens. First, you must have a faith that this what is written here is not just a fairy tale. It is a science, a spiritual science. Yeah, it's a dynamism. And then to understand, to satisfy our own, let's say, curiosity and ego, we have to read different other references. There are many books related to this, what we discussed. So in short, at this point of time, whatever you read or hear, make a note and try to accept it. And that will help you to go forward to understand what is Panchikarna, how that process of Panchikarna brings about the gross form of Panchamahabhuta, as we know. The Akasha as we see, or earth we know, water, fire, space. The importance was also mentioned here about the prana. And so when we do the pranayama, and trust me, pranayama, what we have been doing is not all. There are many more. There are many more kriyas involved in it, which we have not done. And that is to go for a much more advanced yogic lifestyle. You need to do those kriyas. And if you do not continue just for the sake of knowing it, you can read or you can experimental basis, you can do by yourself, but that's not right. I did not do it. We did not do it because we in this, our time of lifestyle, we cannot adopt that as our daily routine. If we are able to do as a daily routine, then it's wonderful to follow those yogic kriyas in pranayama, in breathing. But maybe some other time, some time later, when we are really sincere about pursuing this yoga and pranayama as our lifestyle. But today, try to be aware with your change of your thought, change of your emotion, how your breathing changes. What is the relation with your inhalation, exhalation, and your mood, so to say? Why does it change? But it changes. So if there is no comment or question, let us offer the prayer. Om. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, God, for giving us air to breathe. Thank you, God, for giving us water to drink. Thank you, God, for giving us sun for energy. Thank you, God, for giving us food to eat. Thank you, God, for giving us good health and happiness. Thank you, God, for giving us positivity. Thank you, God, for giving us all that we deserve. Thank you, God, for your love, your protection, your guidance, your blessings. Thank you, God, for the existence. Thank you for giving me a chance to serve you. Notice in our prayer, what are we thanking for? Part of the 5 elements. Thank you for giving us air to breathe. Thank you for giving us water to drink. And thank you for giving us sun for energy. 3 vital elements. And food out of, thank you for food, which is out of the soil, your earth. Isn't it? Thank you. Have a nice day.
you so much, Acharyaji.
Thank you.
See you on Monday, all of you.